Welcome to Module 1, the selection of a research approach. I know how intimidating it must sound to be thinking about a research approach the very first week of class. All this really means is that we're going to look at different ways to approach research and identify one that interests you the most. This is the first step we should take before really solidifying a topic. When looking at Chapter 1 of your text, the selection of a research approach, we start by identifying the three approaches of research. These include qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. Qualitative research is used when you really want to explore and understand individuals or groups of individuals. This requires that the researcher become immersed in the research and seek to really understand the why of the research problem or question. People most commonly think of conducting interviews when they're thinking of qualitative research. Quantitative research is used when you want to examine relationships between variables. When the word quantitative is used, numbers immediately come to mind. Most people think of surveys and things that can be defined on a numerical scale. Lastly, mixed methods research is a combination of both qualitative and quantitative approaches. The components that are involved in research surround philosophy, your research design, and specific methods. So in this module, we're going to look at each one of these in depth. As far as philosophical worldviews go, there are four basic highlighted philosophical worldviews in the text. The first is post-positivism. Post-positivism is associated with quantitative research mainly. Most people know this as a scientific method. Post-positivists believe that causes determine effects or the outcomes of something. So the problems typically studied by post-positivists reflect the need to identify and assess the causes that influence outcomes. Experiments tend to fall into this category. So think of an individual that begins with a theory, collects data to support or refute this theory, and then makes revisions before testing again. The second philosophical view covered in the text is constructivism. Constructivism is associated with the qualitative research. Constructivists hold assumptions that individuals want to seek and understand the world. The researcher's intent is really to interpret the meaning that others have about the world. Rather than starting with a theory, constructivists generate a theory or a pattern of meaning based on the research. The third philosophical worldview is fairly new and is called transformative. A transformative worldview holds that research inquiries need to be intertwined with politics and a political change agenda to confront social oppression. This research would include an action agenda for reform that could change the lives of the participants, the institutions they work with, and the researcher's life. The fourth philosophical worldview is pragmatic. This is normally associated with mixed methods research. Pragmatists look to many different approaches for collecting and analyzing data instead of just one way. They realize the truth is ever-changing and different approaches may be needed to seek it. So, those are the four main types of worldviews. Now that we have a little bit better understanding of the philosophies of research, let's take a look at the research design. First is quantitative. Quantitative research designs can include survey research, which provides a numeric description of trends, attitudes, and opinions of a population. Or quantitative research designs can include experimental research, which seeks to determine if a specific treatment is going to influence an outcome. Think about the medical field where one group is given a medication while the other group receives the placebo treatment. Qualitative research designs tend to be just a little bit more complex because instead of just looking at the what of research and getting that numerical data, we begin to look at the why and the how of research to get a better, deep understanding. Qualitative designs can be narrative. A narrative design would require that the researchers study the lives of individuals and ask those participants to basically provide their life story. Qualitative designs can also be phenomenological, where the research attempts to describe the lived experience of individuals and analyze a phenomenon as it is described by the research participants. A grounded theory approach derives a general theory of a process that comes from multiple perspectives of the participants. Ethnography is used when the researcher just really wants to understand patterns of behavior among a group of participants or even among a culture. And lastly, and the most commonly used qualitative method is case study. That's probably the one that you're most familiar with. These are designed to allow the researcher to have an in-depth analysis of an event or a process of one or more individuals. The last research design is a mixed methods approach. This encompasses elements of both quantitative and qualitative designs. Mixed methods designs can be what we call convergent parallel. This basically means the research is going to merge both qualitative and quantitative data to really get a better analysis of that research problem. Mixed methods designs can also be what we call explanatory sequential. This means the researcher is going to do the quantitative or the survey type of data first, get those results, and then build on those with some qualitative measures like interviews. Lastly, mixed methods designs can be exploratory sequential, where the researcher first does the qualitative, or the interview portion, and follows it up with a quantitative, or a survey, to build upon the results. While I know this information must all seem overwhelming at this time, begin to think about whether you want to look at the what or the how of the research and why. Which approach is going to appeal the most to you? From there, you can choose which design best coordinates with your particular research interests. It's vital that you know and you understand the research language, as you'll be very descriptive in the way that you propose your research methodology in the proposal process. Familiarize yourself with this content now, and writing the methodology is going to be so much easier. Begin with the end in mind. I want you to be to a point where if I ask you about your research approach, you can quickly tell me that you're doing, for example, a mixed methods approach with a convergent parallel design. Know the language to begin with, get comfortable using it, and then you're well on your way to deciding a research topic along with your already decided research design.